Today we're combining two fan favorites, Fall, because who doesn't love fall, with Pottery Barn, because who doesn't love getting those high-end decor looks for less.
For this first Pottery Barn dupe, I decided to go with this faux pumpkin wreath. Now, when I looked at it originally, they were asking $89 for this wreath, but now it looks like it's no longer available. So that means enough people paid $89 for this wreath that they can no longer offer it. So if you've been dying to have this wreath in your life, I got a way you can dupe it for a whole lot less, and all you're gonna need are a few common and inexpensive supplies and a trip to Dollar Tree. It actually took me 2 trips to Dollar Tree, but in those 2 trips, I managed to find 18 packs of these orange faux leather pumpkins, and these are going to be perfect for this DIY. Now, with the goal being to make these as accurately as those from Pottery Barn, I went with a 14-inch foam ring from Michael's that I got for $8.99 plus 30% off. But you could always use this smaller 10-inch one from Dollar Tree, it just won't be as large. You're also going to want a roll of some heavy-duty jute twine and your hot glue gun. You're going to use this jute twine to wrap around that foam ring, so just start with a little bit of hot glue to begin with and then just keep wrapping it around until you get the entire thing covered. Note, this does take a little bit of patience, so find yourself a good TV show, sit down, get comfortable, and start wrapping. Once you have that twine wrapped tightly around that foam ring, finish it off with just a little bit more hot glue. Poke everything in so that you can't notice where the ends are, and then just trim off any of the excess. Now, if you're like me, you don't like those little fuzzies that come with the twine rope, so just use your lighter and light those on fire, and this will give you a nice smooth surface to start working from. Using your hot glue gun, apply a generous dollop of hot glue to the back of a pumpkin and then carefully place that on the top part of your foam wreath. Keep adhering these faux leather pumpkins to the top part of your wreath form until you reach completely around. For this size wreath form, I found that it took 17 of these pumpkins. Repeat these same steps, only this time you're going to be adhering those pumpkins to the inside part of your foam wreath form. And again, you're going to do this completely all the way around. I found for this sized wreath, it took 13 pumpkins. To finish it all off, you're going to go back in with that glue gun and repeat the same step, only this time on the outside part of your entire wreath form. Okay, let's take one more look at that Pottery Barn faux pumpkin wreath form that they're asking $89 for. And then there's ours that cost a total of $33.30. For this next Pottery Barn dupe, we're going to try to replicate these silver pumpkin place card holders. They're a set of 4 and they're asking $29.50 for them, and I'm pretty sure we can do much better than that. Dollar Tree has these white and pastel-y colored leaf bunches with some white berries and white pumpkins on them. For this DIY, it's those pumpkins we're going for. Set the leaves aside because later on we're going to be doing another Pottery Barn dupe with them. A staple in the AJP craft room is always this Rust-Oleum metallic silver spray paint, and we're going to give all of these foam pumpkins a quick spray with that spray paint. Now, the reason why you definitely want these to be foam pumpkins is because when you spray paint foam, it kind of shrivels it up and gives it like tons of texture, and that's the look we're going for here. Now, to draw that texture out and make it replicate that silver look we're going for, you're going to want to grab some black chalk paint and a small paintbrush and just paint a little bit on, and then go in with a nice fluffy brush. I'm just using a fluffy stenciling brush here, and buff away that black paint until you get it into the crevices, but the silver still shines through. Next, you're going to want to grab a little X-Acto knife and cut a slit in behind the stem of each of your foam pumpkins. Let's take another look at the Pottery Barn ones for $29.50 for 4, and although they are absolutely gorgeous, we managed to dupe these for a total of $2.25. The leaf bunches batches cost me $4.50 Canadian, but since we're using the rest for another DIY, I cut the cost in half. And if you're enjoying these dupes so far, make sure you give me a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe consider doing so.
Summer is ended, the leaves are turning brown.
Pottery Barn has these colored, textured, painted pumpkins that they say are styrofoam and plastic. They come in packs of 5, with 3 of them being the smaller mini ones, and they're asking $19.50 for these. And I knew I could easily dupe these for less than that. Dollar Tree has these plastic pumpkins, and in Canada they're $1.50 each, and I decided to pick up 6 of them because I wanted to have 1 large and 1 small pumpkin in each of the colors. Start by popping off each of the stems and then just setting those aside. We'll deal with them later. Now you can go with whatever spray paint or chalk paint you have on hand. I had this chalk paint in the Rust-Oleum spray paint in chiffon cream. I'm going to use that. I also had this Rust-Oleum in the baby blue. Thought that would be pretty. I didn't have a green one, so I decided to use some folk art chalk paint in oatmeal. The chalk paint definitely takes a little bit more work because you're going to have to apply a couple of coats. You're going to have to take your time, make sure you don't get any brush strokes. It's definitely quicker to spray paint, but hey, use what you have. The 3 mini pumpkins had these bright green stems, which I'm not a fan of. So I went in with a little bit of that oatmeal chalk paint just to kind of cover that color up. And then later on, once that dried, I painted those and the larger stems because that also had a bit too much gold in it for my liking, with some of this Art Minds antiquing wax just to make everything look a bit more realistic and brown. Another spray paint staple in the AJP studio is this Rust-Oleum faux stone in the white bleach stone look. I love this stuff. There are so many uses, and this is what we're going to use to create that speckled white effect. Now to use this spray paint, spray it on once, let it dry, go back in and spray again. If you try to apply a second coat of this stone spray paint on top of your original coat when it's still wet, it just moves it around. For the finishing touch, go in with a little bit of hot glue and replace those stems. Now let's take a look again at those Pottery Barn ones where they wanted $19.50 for a pack of 5, and then there's ours. I made mine for $7.50. Now yes, I did use spray paint I had on hand. I only added the cost for the 5 pumpkins, not the 6th, and if you were to have to buy the faux stone spray paint, it definitely would cost you a little bit more, but then you'd be able to make like 100 of them.
Soon they'll be falling down. Now, I'm not ready, not just yet.
For this DIY, we're going to be duping these Figural pumpkin candles, specifically the dark brown candle here. They're asking $29.50 to $69 regular priced for these candles, and on sale they have them for $23.50 to $55, which is still too rich for my blood. So instead of paying those exorbitant prices, I headed to the thrift store where I found myself this candle for $4.99. minus of course my 20% off coupon. Believe it or not, it took 1 trip to the thrift store to find this, and if you ask me, it looks identical. Now in my craft stash, I also had these smaller wicks which were going to fit perfectly in this candle, and I had a little bit of my soy wax left over because I've just been making a ton of candles lately. I melted the wax to 180 degrees, waited till it cooled to 130, and then carefully poured the wax into the glass pumpkin. Little tip, I like to use chopsticks that come when you order some Chinese food that are attached to hold the wicks up. It's just an economical way to do so. Then I let that cool until the candle wax solidified. Okay, let's take a look again at this Pottery Barn one where they were asking anywhere from $29.50 to $69. At Jenny's Place, candle came in for a total whopping $4. $4.
Autumn comes too soon.
Pottery Barn has come out with these beautiful white terracotta pumpkins that are absolutely gorgeous, but with a price tag ranging anywhere from $29.50 to $119. There is just no way I'm going to pay that kind of money for something I know we can easily dupe with nothing more than a trip to the dollar store and our kitchen. So for this DIY, you're going to want to get yourself some white paint. I'm using chalk paint, but it can be acrylic paint, and you're going to want to pour some of that in with some baking soda. You're looking to create a mixture that is sort of like soft served ice cream, slightly melted. Now, Dollar Tree has these ceramic and metallic pumpkins that are going to be ideal for recreating these Pottery Barn lookalikes. Super duper simple. All you're going to want to do is grab a paintbrush and start applying some of that baking soda paint chalk mixture to the outside of each of your pumpkins. Let that dry overnight. To preserve your baking soda paint mixture, just cover it with some saran wrap and an elastic, and it will keep until the next day. Using that leftover baking soda mixture, you're going to want to apply a second coat to your pumpkin, only this time while that baking soda mixture is still wet. You're going to add a little bit of some dried sage, and I'm going in with a little bit of Miracle mud mix here. It doesn't bother me to have soil on the outside of my decor pieces. Some people don't like that. You could always use that fake mud. I'm just not willing to pay the price when I can get it for almost nothing. Find you go a little heavy-handed with the spices and the mud mix in some areas. Not a big deal. Just grab a little bit more of that baking soda chalk paint and add that on the outside. You might actually even find that once everything dries, you want to go in with a little bit of just white chalk paint and lighten up that color a bit and work everything in together to create a look that you're happy with. Okay, and taking another look at the Pottery Barn version, where they were asking for anywhere between $29.50 and $119. I can't believe that. For each of these pumpkins, and then there's ours. I don't know about you, but I think these just look absolutely perfect and would work in any fall decor display. Time we're duping this Pottery Barn fall lit pumpkin wreath. They've just recently put it on sale for $119, but the original price is $149, and either way, that is just way too much for something that I know we can make for like so much less than that. At Dollar Tree for $1.50, I was able to pick up this package of pumpkins and gourds. You're going to want to keep the 2 pumpkins and the 2 gourds that have longer necks. Now you're going to want to paint these so that they are an off-white color. I just went with a bit of Rust-Oleum spray paint to give it that creamy color, but you could also use chalk paint. In fact, for the 3rd foam pumpkin, I didn't want to spray paint it because I didn't want it to get all textury. So instead, I decided to go in with a little bit of that oatmeal chalk paint and just give it a couple of coats of paint. Now, for whatever reason, the pumpkins that came in that package didn't have any stems, and ever the stickler for detail, I decided to poke a hole in each of the 2 with a wooden skewer, and then I had some stems left over from when we made the pumpkin wreath, and I used those instead and then painted those out silver. Now is when we get to use those faux fall leaves that we used in the second DIY. Now, these faux fall leaves come with clusters of berries, but I had these other berries that were once red and then white and then spray painted copper, and now I'm going to paint them white. Normally I would spray paint, but it was raining cats and dogs the day I did this, so instead I just decided to go in with a little bit of white chalk paint, gave them a couple of coats of paint. They dry really fast, and they do look a lot more like the ones that you see on the Pottery Barn version. Next, I headed out to the yard and found some twigs that were a bit pliable, brought those in, stripped them if they had any leaves, and then just slid those in between this grapevine wreath form that I happen to have on hand. I also attached some twinkle lights and used a wire to attach the box to the back. Unfortunately, I didn't test mine before I used them, and it turns out they don't work. So make sure you test yours before you start adding all the rest of the components. Next, I added the faux leaves, focusing more on the lighter white colored ones because this more matches that came from Pottery Barn. From another DIY I just did, a Dollar Tree DIY, I plucked these Dollar Tree fall stems. They're like little clusters of I have no idea what, and I slid them in between the stems of the grapevine wreath. Next, I hot glued on those gourds and the 3 pumpkins into the center of the wreath, and then added those white berries. Now let's take another look at that beautiful Pottery Barn wreath that they were asking a whopping $119 on sale, $149 originally for this wreath, and in total it cost $3.75 to recreate.
I'm not ready, not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon.
If you enjoyed that, make sure you subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. If you hit that notification bell, it'll let you know the next time I upload. Oh, and you might enjoy these.